For as long as anyone can remember, the real estate world has lived by this one simple rule for making a profit: chase the highest commission. But what if that rule is wrong? New data is suggesting that the real key to a brokerage's bottom line is actually hiding somewhere else entirely. So let's solve this profitability puzzle together. So, if you're running a brokerage, this is probably the question that keeps you up at night, right? Is it all about getting the top agents? Is it offering the most generous commission splits? Or is it just about doing a massive volume of deals? It's time to stop guessing and see what the data actually tells us. For years, the conventional wisdom has been super simple: focus on the top line. It's all about those commission splits and squeezing every last bit out of your gross profit percentage. The thinking has always been that a bigger gross profit automatically means a healthier, more successful business. But what if that whole assumption is just flawed? Well, new research from AccountTECH, which analyzed the median performance from 2023 across 11 national brands, it reveals a totally surprising and way more decisive factor at play. All right, let's get right to it. Who actually came out on top in 2023? We're about to look at the brands that led the entire industry in EBITDA margins, and that's a really key measure of a company's true financial health and profitability. Kicking things off at number 3 is leading real estate companies of the world, or leading RE. They posted a really powerful 3.39% median EBITDA margin. That's a strong performance that puts them firmly in the industry's top tier. And in the number 2 spot, we've got the independents. As a group, they pulled off an impressive 4.03% median EBITDA margin, which just goes to show that independent shops can be absolute powerhouse profit centers. But that still leaves one winner. And the undisputed profit leader for 2023 is Sotheby's International Realty, with a commanding 5.77% median EBITDA margin. Now, that's not just a small win. That is a massive gap between them and everybody else. So the big question is, how on earth did they do it? The obvious answer, the one everyone jumps to, is that Sotheby's must have won because of a higher gross profit. But that's not it. Not even close. And the how behind their win is the real lesson for every single brokerage out there. So let's pull back the curtain on these numbers, shall we? The data shows a really consistent formula used by all 3 of our leaders. And it all boils down to one thing that the industry often just overlooks: controlling overhead. Okay, I want you to focus your eyes on the gross profit column. Just look how close those numbers are: 18.26%, 18.87%, 18.71%. I mean, the difference is statistically tiny. This right here, this is the smoking gun. It proves that superior gross profit was not the reason they were so successful. The real story is hiding over in those last 2 columns: wages and non-wage expenses. This chart tells the entire story. We just saw that the gross profit for these leaders was basically identical. But now look at the difference here in total overhead. You can see that huge gap between the top performers. Sotheby's overhead is dramatically lower, and that is precisely where their profit leadership was won. Now, each leader got there in a slightly different way. Sotheby's won with this ultra-lean structure, especially when it came to non-wage expenses. The independents, they succeeded by really containing those non-wage costs even with slightly higher wages. And leading RE, they used more of a balanced approach, keeping both wage and non-wage expenses in check. So if you take just one thing away from this, let it be this. In 2023, the difference between good and great profitability wasn't about the top line. The victory was forged in the discipline of managing operating expenses, both the wages and, most critically, all those non-wage costs. Now let's zoom out and look at the 5-year trend, because this isn't just some one-year fluke. A quick look at the recent past shows us exactly why managing overhead has become the single most important factor for profitability. Man, this timeline tells a powerful story. Back in 2021, profits were pretty healthy. Then, in 2022, they were just absolutely crushed. Median EBITDA plummeted to just 0.70%. So, why? It wasn't because gross profit fell off a cliff. It was because non-wage expenses just ballooned. This was a classic overhead squeeze. The recovery that we saw in 2023 was driven entirely by an expense reset. This brings us to a concept we call the gross profit trap. It's this flawed, even dangerous belief that focusing only on commission splits and gross margins will automatically lead to success. What the data proves is that uncontrolled overhead can and absolutely will completely erase any advantage you gain at the top line. So, what does all this mean for your brokerage? Let's distill this entire analysis into one clear, actionable takeaway that you can apply to your business like today. Mark Blagden, the CEO of AccountTECH, he summed it up perfectly. He said, when everyone's gross profit is pretty much in the same ballpark, the game isn't won there. It's won by the operators who are disciplined enough to prevent overhead from just devouring their margins. So the winning formula is actually pretty simple, though not always easy to do. Step 1, stabilize your gross profit so you're competitive. But step 2 is the real game changer. You have to relentlessly and ruthlessly master your overhead. That is the true path to elite profitability. And that leaves us with one final critical question. Take a hard, honest look at your own numbers. Are you falling into the gross profit trap? Chasing commissions while your overhead is just quietly eating your margin? Because the data is clear. The answer to that question is going to define your future success.